This is what I call a casing cake pop stand. It's called a casing because of the way the sides are made. It's basically the tiers are boxes, and we're just going to stack them up. First thing you do is get all your parts pulled out of the package and unwrapped. Usually the biggest piece is the bottom, so we'll focus on that. You're going to have a support rod, and you're going to have some spacers. Now the support rod screws into a T-nut in the base, and the top screws on to the support rod. There's also a T-nut in the top piece. When you start putting these together, just keep in mind that you don't need to get everything super tight. Just snug down is fine. Now when you unpack the support rod, you'll see that it has a piece of tape around the end. Just take the tape off, but leave the nut and the washer where they're at. These are going to go into the base just like it is. What I usually do is I'll start the rod from the top and put it in the hole, and you can feel the T-nut and start to screw it into the T-nut. What I like to do then is put my finger on the bottom of the T-nut so I can feel the end of the rod when it starts to poke through. You can see right here. Just make sure that it's flush. Okay. When you get that done, go ahead and tighten the nut finger tight, and then use a 7/16 wrench or a pair of pliers or a crescent wrench, whatever you have, and tighten the nut up. What you want to do is just get it snug and then give it like a half a turn, and that's plenty tight. Okay, next thing you're going to do is get your spacers. Both of them, or they'll usually be the same on this type of stand. They're square, and they have a larger hole in the end. That's so it fits over that nut. I did it on both ends on all the spacers, so no matter which way you turn them, they'll go on there right. So the first thing to do is put the spacer on, kind of get it squared up. Make sure that it sits down on the base, and just, play with it till you think you've got it halfway straight. Then what you want to do is get the next tier and do the same thing. You slide it onto the rod till it rests. Now pay attention to the grain direction in your tier, the tops of your tiers. You can do them however you want to. I mean, they could be turned crooked like this, whatever you want to do, but whenever I put them together, I try to pay attention to which way the grain's going. Okay, so depending on how many tiers you got, you just keep stacking them up until you get to the top. Now the top tier, when you get finished, you're going to have a little bit of rod sticking up here. That's so you can screw this top tier on. You have to be real careful when you do this. The T-nut, which is inside right here, sometimes these are very heavy. So when you put it on there, if you drop it, it will pop that T-nut out. If it does that, it's not a failure. All you have to do is push it back in. On the bottom of the T-nut, there's 3 or 4 little prongs, and they make holes in the wood to kind of digs into it. You'll see where they're at. Just kind of push it back in there. If it doesn't go all the way in, that's fine. But the trick is, if it does pop out and you put it on there like this, put your finger on top of the T-nut to keep it down while you're turning this. And when it starts to thread onto the rod, you'll know it. Okay? All you do is keep turning this and turning it, and it'll stop. Now, at this point, get everything lined up. Get all your tiers straight, all your spacers straight, and then continue to tighten this down until you feel it's pretty good resistance on there. What you don't want to do is just keep going and going and going. thinking tighter is better. It's not the case. Once you get it tightened up, again, pay attention to how all your tiers are. If they're straight, you can turn them a little bit. The grain direction up here is going the opposite way, so I'm just going to give it one more turn, so all my grain directions go in the same way, so it all looks right. Now, I don't recommend you do this at home, but you can. At this point, it's pretty sturdy. So you can flip it over, lay it down. Just be careful with it. It makes a good firm piece. So that's about it. It's all together. Thank you.